Hey everybody, welcome to the garden. I hope you're having a great day. Shout out to the lemon and lime lovers and everybody in between. It's time for a market recap. And if you're interested in any of the services provided, please check out the links in the description below for both the Patreon and Discord. Okay, guys, so we're just gonna hop right on into the charts, kind of do a quick recap here. Starting off with the dollar chart, as you can see, closed out on Friday quite bearish, right? So very steep drop on the dollar, but if you've been following the lemon garden, then you know it's been as expected. And why do I say that? I've been saying pretty much we're in a squeeze, we're in a tightening triangle, and I have been calling for a pullback as we made these high pivots to come down and potentially make another higher low, another higher low from this low here to really put in that squeezing structure that we've been kind of playing in here for quite some time, and potentially going to be breaking out very soon. Okay, so we are still in that process. Nothing has changed. In my opinion, this is one of the reasons why we've been getting some general upside in most assets, not really including crypto at the moment, but just looking at the equity markets, we have been more positive than negative, and I would say it's mainly because the dollar has been in a consolidation structure. Now, this consolidation does have a bull bias as of now. Okay, and the bias is, as I've been saying, a pull up to the daily downtrend line, and then ultimately, potentially, breaking beyond there and getting to this monthly bearish fair value gap around the 106 zone, really going after the liquidity above this pivot high. And once there, we'll have to see how the price action looks, because we're most likely going to get a pullback from there, but what kind of pullback will be decided by the price action at the time. So we should expect continuation of this tightening structure. Now, I'm not looking for major downside. Now, if we do get a break under this pivot, that would mean that it's very likely that we're actually in a descending structure with a flat bottom rather than a descending structure with a rising bottom. Okay, symmetrical triangle in this scenario, or we have a descending wedge in the other scenario. So if we do break down and we do take out that low pivot I have circled there, then we would be looking for a breakdown further, going back to the lows at 100.82 to about 101. Okay, so if we do get that breakdown, then we could look for continued upside in most risk on assets. If we don't, then we could still look for continued upside in most risk on assets in the very short term, but we are on the edge, the precipice of a squeeze out of this structure bullish if this ends up becoming a symmetrical triangle structure, a tightening structure. Okay, so we're going to keep our eye on dollar. This week is going to be extremely important to decide whether we're in a symmetrical triangle or a descending wedge. Either or, we're likely going to be in a bullish move coming in dollar in the coming weeks to months. Okay, the dollar, in my opinion, is pretty much doing its part to try and break up here. Now, if we do break down from this level, from the 100 to 101 area, and we start breaking down, then the next stop would be this small consolidation down here at about 98. Okay, so we do have our levels kind of marked off if we should break down, but in this moment, it's still a bull bias. All right, next is the Dow. All right, so the Dow here, nice double top structure here, very, very nice. But what's interesting about the Dow is it's likely going to continue lower in the short term. I would look for it to take out this low here and maybe even pop down to this area here at 33,400, 33,500, that general zone, and then look for a potential short-term pop-up back up towards 34,000. And depending on what the dollar's doing, that will either lead to continuation to really take out these highs, or it's going to lead to a lower high from these highs, and finally we'll get some selling going into the lower liquidity zones once more, like here, coming back to 33,000. So we are in a pretty important time. So we're either going to go pop up from here, or we're going to break lower after this short-term rally up here. So what's most likely is looking for a short-term pop back to this daily bearish fair value gap, and then most likely, in my opinion, the dollar will start to show some strength and will probably reverse down. So the most likely probable path Okay, I said two things at once that mean the exact same thing, an oxymoron, but I'm saying it again. The most probable path is that we get down here, make a little bit of a consolidation, pop up, come into this daily bearish fair value gap I have marked right here, right now. So this fair value gap right here, and then fail off of that and break about lower back to this lower bullish fair value gap here is where I'm seeing it. Okay. Ultimately, though, it is to be determined whether we're going to break this low. The structure right now is pretty interesting. So if we do not break this low, it does not mean we're actually going to rally up. It starts turning into a pretty advanced consolidation or range structure. We'll have to wait and see how the price action develops over time. But in the short term, this is what I'm seeing for now. Okay. Next is the S&P. So let's take a quick look at the S&P. So S&P, unlike the Dow, didn't do really a double top. It did do a double top, but did more of a swing failure sort of pattern so far, at least. Right, broke up, popping down, and so far it looks good for more downside, kind of like the Dow. So looking back lower towards 4,300 to potentially under this consolidation in the short term, going to towards 4,250. So we are looking pretty good for a revisit back to the high pivots here at about 4,230, 4,250, and then we'll have to see how price action looks. Again, this is under the assumption that the Dixie, that the dollar is not in a descending wedge, but more of a symmetrical triangle. If we're in a descending wedge and we have to go all the way back down towards the 100 or the 101 area, then there's most likely going to be a lot more upside coming for the S&P and the Dow and the Nasdaq, of course. So we'll keep our eye on it, but so far the price action is telling us to be a bit wary, a bit skeptical, look for some continuation to the downside. Okay, so I'm liking this overall. But before we go down to the Nasdaq, I do want to look on the weekly for both the S&P and Nasdaq. I want to point something out. The weekly on both of them is quite bullish, actually. So the weekly here is actually showing me that we are likely going into a consolidation period for the S&P, but it's likely going to have a bullish consolidation. So we could still get that pullback, like I said, but we want to be very skeptical on getting too bearish too quickly, because the evidence is starting to lean more bullish over the long term. Okay, so you want to keep our eye on this, because if this does start a major accumulation here on the weekly and it has a bull bias and ends up validating bullish, well, I mean, we got to start looking at the all-time highs here, right? So we have to keep our eye on how this is going to develop over these next coming weeks. It's going to be a really, really important time as we're going into the end of Q3, and then the beginning of Q4. So we're going to have to see how this all develops here. All right, next is the Nasdaq, and we'll take a look at that on the weekly as well. So Nasdaq, similar to the Dow, more of a double top structure so far. We'll see how it develops. But of the three, this one has definitely extended out the most. Very, very bullish. And it still is bullish. Even if we do get a pullback here, we're looking for a bullish pullback to then ultimately lead to some more upside, whether it's here or down here. It doesn't really matter. Point is, this has a lot of room to the downside, but in my opinion, is also extremely bullish when you look at it from this perspective. Now, will it lead to breaking the all-time highs? Yeah, I would say probably not, unless there's going to be some sort of policy, pivot coming from the Fed soon. So we'll have to wait and see how that develops. But if we look at the weekly, same thing with the Nasdaq, just like with the Dow. It's this price action here is not really toppy price action. This is more of like, hey, I'm going into consolidation sort of price action. Now, what kind of consolidation depends. If we do have something that kind of grinds up like this, then we can start looking at, okay, this is pretty bearish, right? That's gonna have a more bearish kind of bias to it. But if it does do what I think it's doing, where it goes kind of sideways, maybe slightly downwards like this, then you want to start getting very, very bullish, and it's really going to start threatening the highs up here. So it's going to get really interesting really, really soon. And when I say soon, I mean this quarter to the end of this quarter, okay? All right, now let's take a quick look at oil here. Sorry guys, I had like a bit of a brain fog. I was looking at gold for a second there. Okay, yeah, we'll look at gold in a second, but I just caught my eye for some reason. So looking at oil, let's go down to the daily here. Actually, before we do that, look at the weekly. See, really beautiful. I've been saying this for months now, right? Like, we're in this massive accumulation zone here. This is a massive, I should say, support zone, this blue zone. Okay, it goes back like 5-7 years, and we've come back to revisit it as support. And so far, what are we seeing? We're seeing pricing here break in, and look what's changed here. Notice we made this low here. We did have this low wick here. Okay, we had this low wick here. Now this was off of a couple pieces of news, but we do have this low here. So we have kind of like this double bottom low, and now we're starting to get wicks getting bought up higher. So you're seeing a slight higher low structure starting to form here. So it's really rounding here on the weekly. So you want to keep your eye on this. I've been saying for a very long time, oil to me is uber bullish. And we're starting to see some evidence of that as we're getting closer and closer towards the wee months of summer, and where we're going to get a really, in my opinion, a lot of demand coming overseas, right? So watch as we potentially continue up here. So we've been trading in here. We're going to stay in here for quite some more time, I think. But notice we've taken out this high here, and we're coming into these highs up here for a nice little rally up. If we get a breakdown here, and then we start to build out a higher low, a decisive higher low from these lows down here, I'm going to be telling you guys, watch out above, because we're likely going to be breaking out of this blue zone, this support zone, and making our way all the way back to these high pivots up here. And in my opinion, we're going to not just break through those, we're going to blast through them, okay? In my opinion, I think the fundamental nature of what's going on geopolitically, with the war and also just the failures of this new energy crap out in Euro, is going to really start to punish a lot of these countries, and the spike in demand and price in oil is going to be ridiculous, I think. I could be wrong, but it's just my opinion. I do think that we're going to see a massive spike in oil demand, like I've been saying for months, and we're getting close to me, in my opinion, for this to actually start playing out. Okay, and if you're in the swing trade service, then we've taken a long position on oil. Again, we're starting small, but we have to get a long position on oil because we're getting ready for it. We're getting ready for it. Next is gold and silver. Gold and silver. So gold came right on into the zone I've been talking about. So 1930, 1890, right into the area. Okay, we wicked just above 1890. So perfect, right into this bullish fair value gap. So grab the liquidity there, just slightly. But I do think we're gonna probably do something like this. We might break down again a little bit, but eventually we're gonna find some demand to pop up. And in my opinion, it's probably gonna be a grindy nature. And then from there, we will get some weakness to then break down further. Okay, so I am gonna get interested in potentially playing gold if we start breaking back into like the 1850s and the low 1800s here, and maybe even if we could somehow break under this low pivot here, that'd be even more incredible. But if you're in the swing trade service, I'm not in any gold plays, we're not in any gold miners, gold stocks, we're not in the paper contracts like GLD, nothing like that. But we are getting close. At least I'm getting close to initiating that. So if you are interested in the swing trade service, make sure you join. It's been extremely good, I would say. Overall, it's been very successful. So if you are interested, make sure to take a look to find the information on that on the Patreon or in the Discord below. Join the Discord. It is free for all. Next is silver. So silver, similar story, but has a tinge more bearishness to it, you see. So I am looking for a breakdown here as well. So gold, I'm looking for kind of like a sideways range, whereas silver, I'm looking for more like this, a descending structure. So we want to see this breakdown like this as gold kind of breaks back down to the low end of that range, so around the 1890, 1900 area. This is where I see silver breaking down towards the 22.15, 16 area. Sorry about that, guys. Whew, long day. But somewhere around this area, and then we'll look for another kind of pop up from there. So really taking out this low at 22.147 around this area. All right, so silver slightly bearish. Same thing on gold, slightly bearish, but short term we could see a pop up, but we want to see more downside before we start, really committing to playing these on the long side. And finally, let's get into Bitcoin. Let's see what Bitcoin's been up to. We have about 12 minutes before the new daily candle and weekly candle open up. So looking at the daily, if you're in the swing trade service, and as you're seeing here, yes, we have been long since 26,800. It's been pretty good so far. And so far, Bitcoin's been playing out generally what I've been looking for, which is a consolidation, right? So I knew that when we popped up, if you go back to a couple of recaps back, when we were pretty much when only we had the doji here. We didn't have any more price action here. I think it was just this doji, maybe this candle. I have been saying, watch out, because we are likely going to have a pullback, some consolidation, and that is exactly what we're getting. And I'm looking for more. I am looking for more of a consolidation as we go further into July. I want to see us pop maybe back down to 29.5 and maybe even 29,000 flat, and then look for a rounding structure to start building out here. The reason why we want to see this, because we want to see this move up be stable, right? So we want to see a lot of demand here buying up the price. We want to hold this general zone and then look for continuation back up towards 34,000, 35,000, back towards the bearish monthly fair value gap, where in my opinion, this is what we're working for, right? If we get this bullish consolidation here, this is the fuel that's being pumped into the price to try and overtake this consolidation, move its way into this imbalance, and fill up as much of this liquidity as possible. And then we want to start looking for unloading signs of smart money, right? We want to start looking for signs of big money, smart money, letting go of their long positions that we have been accumulating down here, here, and potentially over here as well. And we want to let this go as they're letting go. And then, like I always say to the members, slowly transition short as we are selling the longs, slowly transition long as we are selling the shorts. It's that simple. So we're going to keep doing that. It's like a washer machine, and it's been an absolute printer. We've been killing it. So if you're not in the swing trade service, what are you doing? $40 a month. And I can tell you right now, if we keep track of what we've been doing for the entire year and a half since February 2022, we're going to keep on going. So I think it's very much worth it, okay? So looking at Bitcoin, looking for a pullback further, but I am looking for the pullback to remain stable around 29.5, and potentially 28.8 around this area. Or I should say, sorry, 28.5. So this general zone here. And then once we hold this area, if I am correct, then we should eventually see continuation higher. And once we get into this monthly bearish fair value gap, should this structure play out, or this path I should say, then we want to be on the lookout for major weakness to pop up, and we want to be ready to let go of our positions. All right, guys. Actually, before I go, let's take a quick look at MATIC, because this is also a free trade. I got to start looking at the free trade. So there's a free trade. If you're in the Discord and you're not a premium member, I still do one trade, one stock trade, one crypto trade free per month, and MATIC is the free trade. So currently we're sitting around break even, slightly in the green. And what I'm looking for MATIC now is we may get another drive up, but ultimately I am looking for something like this. So I want to see it pull back here. I know, crazy. I'm looking for drawdown. We are looking for it to pull back because we want to see something like this build, where we pull up, pull back, and then build out a higher low, which then leads to significantly more upside to get the fuel to challenge this price action up here, okay? So I'm not looking for us to just pop up from here. It's going to be unlikely. Again, of course, possible. Anything's possible in trading, but it's not likely. It's more likely we're going to have to pull back, come into this fair value gap here, or take out this low here, and then grab that sell side liquidity and then pop up and maybe make a slight lower high from this area. If we're going to get really freaking strong, maybe we'll see move back up to this fair value gap up here. I don't know if you can see it, but there's a bearish fair value gap right here, and then pull back from there, and then we might get bullish consolidation, and that's if the markets are really strong, and then pull up higher. Now, not saying that's what's going to happen, but if this does happen, that means Bitcoin's probably gone way higher than I have been mapping out in the short term, okay? So far, we're looking pretty good on MATIC, and pretty much in all our other positions as well. I think we're pretty much green in everything. Flat green or slightly in the red with APT, I think. Or, yeah, APT, slightly. We're talking like 2%. But everything else is pretty much pretty stable in the green, deep in the green, or slightly break even like this. All right, guys, that is it. That is it for the market recap. Again, if you have any questions, make sure to leave a comment down below. I'll definitely get to it. I like to read the comments. And also give me a like and subscribe. I'd really appreciate that. Maybe a share or two. That'd be awesome. And if you are interested in any of the services, again, the Patreon is the easiest way to get more details on that. And then also, if you want to go through like a crypto payment option, there's always that option. You can find that information on the Discord. Join the Discord. It's free. Whether you're a premium member or not, I do make sure to give out value. Like I said, free trades. I do free live streams. So you do want to be in the Discord to meet myself and good people and learn and then share what you know. We want to learn in the Lemon Garden always. All right, guys, that is it. Everyone, always remember, be patient, be vigilant, and be nimble. I love you guys. Take care.